Hi, and welcome to Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Today I'm going to read to you from A Feather Out of Time by C.A. King. Chapter 1. Life was filled with firsts. That night was chock full of them, including wearing a suit. What 10-year-old kid did that? The answer was him. Albeit the outfit was an off-the-rack hand-me-down. The navy blue pants and jacket weren't so bad, but the high-collared shirt and tie were a killer. 2 fingers slipped between neck and material, pulling it outwards. "I told you a clip-on was a better choice," his father, Frank, said. "The poor guy looks like he's suffocating. His skin shouldn't turn the same shade as his outfit." As much as the argument was nice to hear, it was also more about Frank not wanting to wear a proper tie. The whole lot of them knew the head of the family's stance on that. Wives always won when it came to outfit coordination, though. That was probably the only argument they won. At least in their house it was. He knew how to wear proper clothes, his mother, Helen, argued. Someone has to teach him these things. "What for?" Frank cussed under his breath. "Where is he ever going to wear something fancy again? We aren't high society. He probably won't even have a date come prom." As much as his mother wanted to be in a better class bracket, his father was right. It simply wasn't going to happen to a blue-collar worker with a wife and 3 kids. Another one was on the way, too. The patriarch's salary was stretched budgeted. "Tsk," Helen said, clicking her tongue at him. "You never know what can happen." A series of tickets waved in the air. Couponing and entering contests were her hobbies. Because of that, they had shelves littering the garage with soaps, detergents, cases of waters, canned food, and even a year's supply of cat food from a drawer. Of course, they were missing one thing: the cat. Instead of donating to a local animal shelter, they kept it in case of the apocalypse. Which was better, death or eating cat food? Without actually facing the situation, he wasn't quite sure. It was hard to imagine chowing down on it, though, especially the wet tin stuff. Dry kibbles probably tasted like dried, bland crackers. Yeah, his father sighed. "You won them, so we all have to suffer." "Darn," his brother Mark yelled. "Watch your language," Helen snapped, "and put down that thing." Mark was always playing one handheld game or another, donning the same silly grin the whole time. Given the chance, he probably could have dropped out of school and gone pro. "See, it's a good thing they are getting a bit of culture. They need diversity in their lives, right, Martha?" "Huh?" His sister Martha glanced up from her compact, not having heard a word of the conversation until that point. "Do you think my nose is too shiny?" "Tsk, honestly," Helen complained, eyes rolling. "What am I going to do with the lot of you?" "I'll drop you and the kids off at the front and find a place to park," Frank said. As far as appearances went, it seemed like a considerate gesture. Truth be told, his father was choosing a spot a bit farther away than necessary in order to light up a cigarette on the walk back. It was a trick Frank often pulled, not that it fooled anyone. No one called him on it because they knew the foul mood it would cause if they did. The outside of the building was as plain as any on the sidewalk strip, albeit most of the others were fancy restaurants. The only thing extraordinary about the location they were heading to was the length of the line, which reached around the corner. His mother ignored the people patiently waiting, instantly tugging on the doors. Scary. She was always like that, pretending to live among the rich and famous whenever the opportunity arose. He stepped to the side, ignoring the voices of those in the lineup growing louder. Sometimes both his parents were embarrassing. As far as he knew, it was like that in any momentary escape. Posters behind glass were always worth taking a peek at. This time they were all the same. an up-close and personal shot of a single woman dressed in two unique outfits. One was pure white, the other black. There was something unusual about the woman's demeanour, as if a change in attitude accompanied the differing outfits. How peculiar. It was a still shot, yet filled with raw emotion. He felt them. He saw them. He understood them on a gusty wind blew his hair back. Lights surrounding the posters flashed on, twinkling. Music belted out in bursts of notes, descending and rising again. A revelation? Cordial, Helen called out. Are you listening to me? Ah, it was just the doors opening. Come along, she insisted, waving her tickets around in the air above her head. Our special seats are waiting. A rather grumpy-looking old man, holding the doors open, motioned with his head towards the lobby. Right this way. An eye roll accompanied his words. I'm Gary. If you need anything, please let me know. Is there popcorn? His brother asked. No, the man answered. There is no popcorn. Drinks are available during the intermission. Please try to keep the noise to a minimum. Toilet, Cord mumbled. What? Gary turned so his ear was facing him. I need a bathroom, he replied, shifting weight from one foot to the other. He'd held it as long as possible. Mother's moment in the limelight. She hated it when that happened. Now he was about to burst. This way. Gary motioned with his head again. Perhaps it was a convenient tick. Either way, he followed the usher in the direction indicated. You don't like kids, huh? Gary turned his head slowly, one brow rising. You are rather blunt for a small boy. He paused for a moment, lips twisting from side to side. It's not kids specifically, he finally answered. It's anyone who doesn't have respect for the ballet isn't easy for everyone to understand, and in some cases people don't want to take the time to educate themselves. Those who do tend to appreciate the hard work that goes into the art. Are you open-minded enough to let the dance touch your heart? He stopped. Here we are. You should hurry. It's only 20 minutes before the curtain rises. I still need to help others find their seats. I am, Cord said. What? Gary asked, brow arching. The type who's open-minded, Cord replied. I know because of the poster outside. I can't wait to see what the ballet is. Gary snorted. You might not be all bad for a kid. Chapter 2. This evening was the first time he so much as heard the word ballet. If the poster outside was trustworthy, it appeared to be some sort of a dance. That was only a guess, albeit a fairly sound one, based on Gary's comments. Still, what remained hidden until the curtain went up was anyone's guess, the best sort of surprise. It's a love story, Helen whispered into her husband's ear. Frank would be sawing logs before the first act was over. The man fell asleep at the drop of a hat, and once there, nothing and no one was waking him, at least anyone valuing their life. Ugh. Frank grunted his reply. The lights dimmed. The quiet background chatter came to a complete halt. Silence. The curtain rose. The stage transformed from pitch black to the twinkling lights of some sort of a celebration, one which appeared to be centred around a male dancer. Then she entered. The woman from the poster, dressed all in white. Her movements were as captivating as the music, which perfectly bolstered the emotions of the dance. Everything and everyone was in sync. Even a novice could tell they were being treated to a flawless performance. He thought back to Gary's words. How much work must have gone into creating such a spectacle? The production was exactly the same as reading a good book. The first chapter was over too quickly. At the same time, he wanted to move on to the second act to find out what was yet to come. Things were bound to really start getting exciting. Innocent maidens dressed in white pranced and twirled their way onto the stage, dancing elegantly under the moonlight. There was magic. There was mystery. There was a wicked wizard and an evil curse beyond reason. The women were transformed by the mage's magic. Still, the male dancer reunited with the female lead in emotionally touching, rhythmic movements. The pair was meant for one another. Anyone could see that. He wiped the tears from his eyes one at a time, not wanting to miss a moment of the performance. The pain, the desire, the pleasure, the love. It was too much for a boy his age to handle. The curtain went down, the crowd moving about, scurrying to find a drink to quench their thirst and use the restrooms. He wasn't moving an inch. There was too much at stake. Being absent for even the teeniest scene was bound to change the performance's entire meaning. Lights flashed on and off. People scurried back to their seats. Silence. The curtain rose on the next act. It was like flipping a switch, the way the two roles, portrayed by one ballerina, seamlessly transitioned from one to the other, good to evil. The white was gone, replaced by black. A malevolent temptress impersonated the pure female lead in order to deceive the male dancer. Cord sat on the edge of his chair, watching the heartbreaking story of two strong, intelligent, and yet very different women. One trapped in a cursed body by a sorcerer, the other a cunning and crafty villainess plotting to steal away a rival's true love by making him her own. The end came much too soon. He wasn't ready for it. Tears streamed down his face, this time flowing too fast to bother trying to wipe them away. The curtain fell. Cord stood, hands slapping against one another as quickly as possible. Most of the rest of the audience followed suit. The curtain rose. The performers formed a line, holding hands as they bowed together. The crowd went wild, the clapping doubling in strength when the lead dancers moved forward together, bowing before returning to the line. The curtain fell for the final time of the night. The lights began to flicker, turning fully on a moment later. The crowd was already moving toward the exits. "Frank!" Helen called out. "Frank!" She nudged her husband's shoulder. Frank bolted up from a slouched position. "Huh? What? Is it over?" "Yes," Helen exclaimed. "It's over. Did you even watch any of it?" "Yeah," Frank replied, yawning. "It was a nature piece about a bunch of birds, right?" Helen shook her head. "Anyway, I'm going for the car." Frank stretched, his back creaking and cracking. "That's better. You'd think a fancy place like this would have more comfortable seats." He shrugged. "I'll meet you outside. Be ready. There will be a lot of traffic, so I won't be able to stop for long."